You see that ridgeline over there? The one where the trees don't grow right? You boys look at that, and you see a hiking trail, maybe a place to ride your dirt bikes. I look at that ridge, and I feel the water rising around my ankles. I taste the stale air. You think you're tough because you work a double shift? You don't know tough until you've had to count your breaths because you didn't know if the next one would be your last. Let me take you back to the spring of '64. When I was 22, I learned that the mountain doesn't care if you're strong. It only cares if you're lucky. Settle down now. Pull up a crate. Don't mind the dust. Coal dust is about the only thing that holds this porch together anymore, you young ones. You come around here asking about the good old days. Let me tell you something right now. There wasn't nothing good about dragging 100 pounds of slate through a space no bigger than a coffin. But there was honor in it. There was a brotherhood. You look at my hands. Look at em. Knuckles swollen, scars running like road maps across the back. Every scar has a story. This one here? That was a slip of a pickaxe. This one? That was a fight at the company store over a loaf of bread. But these... ... The way my hands shake sometimes when it gets quiet, that's from the dark. You boys rely on your batteries, your LEDs. We relied on flame and instinct. When the flame went out, you found out who you really were. I want to tell you about a man named Elias Thorne. You won't find his name in any history book. He wasn't a boss. He wasn't a union leader. He was just a man who chewed tobacco like it was candy and knew the sound of the rock better than he knew his own wife's voice. This was back in the Black Creek mine. It was a wet mine. It's a dangerous mine, and I was just a kid, really. Green as grass and twice as soft. That was back in '64. When I was 22, I was working the graveyard shift in the number 4 seam, ... At 22, you think you're invincible? I had a girl back then. Her name was Clara. Prettiest thing in 3 counties. I was saving up for a ring. That's all I thought about. Every cart of coal I loaded, I calculated the cents. Clink, that's the band. Clink, that's the diamond. Clink, that's the house on the hill. I was paired up with Elias. Elias was an old-timer, probably 50, but he looked 80. Face like leather, cured in smoke. He didn't talk much. He communicated in grunts and taps. We were 3 miles in, 3 miles under the weight of the world. The ceiling in Sector 4 was low, maybe 4 feet high. You didn't stand, you crawled. You lived on your knees. The air down there was thick, heavy with humidity and the smell of sulfur. Tasted metallic. Keep your head down, Silas, Elias would grumble, not even looking at me. Rock's hungry today. I laughed him off. Rock's always hungry, Elias. I'm just here to feed it and get paid. It was a fool. We were timbering that night, setting up props to hold the roof up while the extraction crew moved forward. It's distinct work. You have to listen to the wood. When you wedge a timber in, it groans. If it screams, you run. If it sings, you're safe. There was another boy with us, a runner named Jeb. Jeb was younger than me, maybe 19. He was the pony driver, guiding the mule that hauled the carts. That mule, Bessie, was meaner than a snake, but she knew the way out better than any of us. Around 2 a.m., the atmosphere changed. You know how the air feels right before a thunderstorm? That heavy static pressure felt like that, but we were 1,000 feet underground. Elias stopped, swinging his hammer. He stood perfectly still, his head cocked to the side, his carbide lamp casting a long, flickering shadow against the coal wall. "What is it?" I asked, wiping sweat and grime from my eyes. "Hush," Elias whispered. "Silence in a mine is never good. A mine should breathe. The ventilation fans should hum, the earth should creak, the rats should be skittering." But the rats were gone. I looked around the floor. Usually you'd see a dozen of them, eyes reflecting the light, stealing crumbs from our lunch pails. But the floor was empty. "Where's the rats, Elias?" I asked, my voice trembling just a little. "They ran," he said, dropping his hammer. "Grab your pail, Silas. Grab it now. But the shift isn't over. I said, grab it. Elias roared, a sound I'd never heard from him. Then we heard it. It wasn't a crash. Not at first. It was a low, guttural moan, like a beast waking up in the center of the earth. It came from the deep dark further down the tunnel. And then came the wind. When a collapse happens, it pushes the air out of the tunnel like a piston. A blast of wind hit us, blowing out our lamps instantly. Pitch black. Absolute, suffocating darkness. You can't see your hand in front of your face. You can't see the fear in your own eyes. Elias, I screamed. Get to the wall. His voice came from the dark, back against the coal. Feel for the ribs. I scrambled, my hands tearing against the rough slate floor. I found the wall and pressed my back into it. Then the roar came. The sound of thousands of tons of rock letting go. It sounded like a freight train driving directly into your skull. The ground shook so hard my teeth rattled. Dust filled my mouth, my nose choking me. I curled into a ball, covering my head, waiting to be crushed. I thought of Clara. I thought of the ring. I thought, I'm 22 and I'm going to die in the dark. The noise lasted for a minute, maybe two. Then, silence. A silence so heavy it pressed against your eardrums. I coughed, spitting out grit. Elias, I'm here, boy. His voice was calm, terrifyingly calm. Jeb, you there? A whimper from the left. My leg, oh God, my leg. I fumbled for my striker. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped it twice. Finally, spark, spark. Whoosh. The flame of the carbide lamp flared up. The yellow light cut through the dust. The tunnel was gone. 20 feet in front of us, a wall of jagged rock and twisted timber blocked the path. We turned around. Behind us, maybe 50 feet back, another wall of rock. We were trapped in a pocket, maybe 70 feet of tunnel. That was our whole world now. I crawled over to Jeb. He was pinned. A slab of slate the size of a kitchen table had caught his shin. He was pale, his eyes wide and glassy. Don't look at it, Jeb, Elias said, moving beside me. He didn't panic. He just went to work. Silas, get the jack. We need to lift this off him. We worked for an hour, sweating, straining, cursing. We got the rock off him, but his leg. Let's just say Jeb wasn't going to be walking out on his own. We tore our shirts to bind it up. Then we took stock. 3 men, 2 lamps. One is half full of carbide, 1 canteen of water, 2 ham sandwiches, and enough air for maybe a day, maybe less if we panicked. Are they coming for us? Jeb asked, his voice thin and reedy. Elias sat on a pile of rubble and lit a cigarette. I know, gas and all that, but Elias knew the air. He figured if we weren't blown up yet, a smoke wouldn't kill us faster than the lack of air. They're coming, Elias lied. I knew he was lying. But we gotta help 'em find us. That's when the water started. It wasn't a flood at first, just a trickle, seeping out from under the rock fall, but it was cold. Ice cold. The Black Creek aquifer had breached. Silas, Elias said quietly, pulling me aside. Look at the floor. The water was rising, an inch every 10 minutes. If the air don't get us, the water will, I whispered. Don't let Jeb hear you, Elias snapped. We head for the high ground. The rise in the tunnel near the headers. We dragged Jeb up the slight incline of the tunnel floor. We sat there in the dark to save our lamps. That's the worst part, boys. The waiting. In the dark, your mind plays tricks on you. You see things. I saw my mother, saw Clara. I saw the sun shining on the green grass. I started to cry. I'm not ashamed to say it. I was 22 years old, and I was weeping like a baby. Stop it, Elias said. He reached out in the dark and grabbed my shoulder. His grip was like iron. You save that water for your body, not your eyes. You listen to me? Panic kills faster than the rock. You breathe slow. You think about something real. Describe your front porch to me, Silas. Tell me about the wood. So I did. For hours, I talked about the peeling paint on my porch. I talked about the squeak in the third step. I talked until my throat was dry as ash. The water kept rising. It was at our boots now, then our waists. Jeb passed out from the pain. It was just me and Elias, chest deep in freezing black water, holding Jeb up so he wouldn't drown. I can't do it, Elias, I chattered. The cold was seeping into my bones. I can't feel my legs. You can, Elias said. You're young. You got fire in you. I'm just old coal. But you got a life. Suddenly Elias stiffened. Hush. What? Listen. It was faint. So faint, I thought I imagined it. It was coming from the pipe, the compressed air line that ran along the roof. It was twisted and crushed, but it ran through the collapse. They're signaling, I yelled. Grab a rock, Elias commanded. Hit the pipe 3 times. Pause 3 times. I slammed the rock against the iron pipe. Clang, clang. We waited. They heard us. But hearing us and getting to us are 2 different things. The water was at our chests. The air was getting bad foul, thick with carbon dioxide. I was getting dizzy. I felt sleepy. That's the black damp. It just puts you to sleep and you never wake up. Keep Jeb's head up, Elias wheezed. He was struggling too. Elias, I slurred. I'm tired. Don't you close your eyes, Silas? Don't you dare. He slapped me. Hard. You think about Clara. You think about that ring. You think about the sun. I fought it. Fought the sleep. I fought the cold. It took them 12 hours. 12 hours of sitting in that water. I remember the sound of the drill first, the grind of metal on rock. It was the most beautiful music I ever heard. Then, a small hole broke through the rockfall. A beam of light shot through like a laser. We see you, a voice shouted. Out. When they finally broke through enough to drag us out, I couldn't walk. My legs were numb from the cold. They dragged Jeb out first, then me. I looked back for Elias. He was leaning against the wall, the water up to his neck. He was smiling, a tired, toothless smile. Come on, Elias. I reached out. Go on, boy, he said. I'm coming. It pulled him out right as the roof gave way again behind us. The water swallowed the pocket where we had been standing seconds before. We made it out. Jeb lost his leg, but he lived. He opened a hardware store over in Hazard. Lived to be 70, me. Married Clara. Bought that ring. We had 3 kids, but Elias... Elias never went back down. That shift broke him. Not his body, but his spirit. He spent the rest of his days sitting on a porch just like this one, staring at the ground, listening. When I was 22, I learned that life isn't promised. It's stolen. Every breath you take is a theft from the dark. So you young bloods, you listen to me. You look out for your brother. When the world gets darkened, it will get dark-hued. Don't panic. You find the pipe. You tap the signal. And you hold each other up until the light breaks through. That's enough for tonight. My coffee's getting cold. Go on. Get home. Watch your step on the way out. The ground remembers.